Mystics, pull your chair a little closer to the fire. Tonight, the air is thick, the shadows are restless, and something unseen is knocking to be heard. Imagine a book no one can read, written in a language that doesn't exist, filled with plants that never grew on Earth, and diagrams of worlds no one has ever seen. For over 600 years, it has mocked every mind that tried to solve it. Scientists, codebreakers, linguists, and AI have all failed. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a riddle bound in calfskin, soaked in secrecy, and sealed with questions the past refuses to answer. Tonight, we turn the page. In the hushed archives of Yale University's Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library, behind a layer of glass, rests one of history's most stubborn mysteries. Known as the Voynich Manuscript, it is 240 pages of vivid illustrations and flowing handwritten script. But the words, no one has ever read them. The letters belong to no known alphabet, and the language belongs to no known culture. The illustrations don't help. On one page, strange plants bloom, plants that match no species catalog in botany. On another, naked women bathe in a network of green pools connected by impossible pipes. Elsewhere, there are star charts, but the constellations are alien, as if drawn from a sky we have never stood beneath. The manuscript's name comes from Wilfred Voynich, the rare book dealer who acquired it in 1912. But the carbon dating reveals the parchment itself was crafted between 1404 and 1438. Long before Voynich was born, long before the printing press, and centuries before modern cryptography. Over the years, it has passed through curious hands, from emperors to alchemists, from Jesuit scholars to 20th century collectors, each owner adding a chapter to the book's real history, while the content inside remained locked. During World War II, some of the world's greatest code breakers, the same minds who cracked Nazi ciphers, tried to decode it. They failed. In the modern era, computer algorithms, artificial intelligence, and linguistic pattern analysis have all taken a turn. They failed too. Theories swirl like ink in water, a medieval herbal medicine compendium from a forgotten culture, maybe. An encoded alchemical text holding recipes for transformation, perhaps. An elaborate hoax designed to fool Renaissance scholars, a thought. Or perhaps a record from somewhere or someone not of this earth. Some see the bathing women as symbolic maps of the human body, each pool and pipe a metaphor for anatomy and healing. Others point to the astronomical charts as proof the author had knowledge of celestial movements unknown to 15th century science. The mystery is not just that we can't read it, it's that the book refuses to be classifiable. It doesn't behave like any known hoax, yet it resists every legitimate decoding method. And maybe that's the point. In a world obsessed with answers, the Voynich Manuscript exists as a reminder. Some questions are meant to linger. Some secrets prefer their silence. So we ask, Is this the diary of a lost civilization? An encoded guide to hidden knowledge? Or the most beautiful trick ever played on human curiosity? Turn the page and let's step inside the unspoken language of the Voynich Manuscript.
This is the most mysterious book in the world, and it's the subject of many academic theories and conspiracies. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and what makes it so special is that nobody can read it. It contains nearly 250 pages filled with fantastical drawings alongside an unknown language that nobody has been able to decode. The manuscript is divided into sections, one of which is a botanical section, but the images are of plants that do not exist or that combine elements from multiple plants. Another section shows women who appear to be bathing in an unidentified green liquid and interacting with tube-like structures. Another section includes astrological and cosmological images, and another section is believed to contain recipes. Carbon dating revealed that the paper is from between 1404 and 1438, but other than that, nobody knows when or where it came from or by whom it was written. For hundreds of years, it has disappeared and reappeared throughout history, until it was discovered, or rather rediscovered, by rare books dealer Wilfred Voynich in 1912. It has baffled academics and amateur codebreakers alike for hundreds of years, and almost no progress has been made. No human or computer has been able to solve it or find its true origins. There have been multiple claims that someone's deciphered it, but no one has been able to prove it. Theories about what the Voynich Manuscript is include a women's health manual, an alien text, a hoax, a religious text, and just about any other theory you could possibly come up with. But for now, its bizarre imagery and mystical origins remain a mystery.
Hi, I'm Kayla, and I translated the Voynich Manuscript. I wanted to tell everyone who liked, supported, and started following my content, thank you so much. I promise you I'm not making this up. I did have a lot of stuff posted on academia. A lot of it I did take down because people started copying my work and trying to pass it off as their own. And I just, so many times in history, women have like figured something out and then men turn around and try to take credit for it. And I promise you, I have proof, and all I need is the right person to look over my work, sign my book deal, and I will release all of it. I promise you, it fits. And I've even checked it on AI with, my AI, my, friends and family, had them look it up, and it fits. I promise. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'll go over something, just because I'm hiding in my car right now from my kids. So I wanted to go over another thing. These pages that we were talking about with the alignment, what these are next to it, are actually lunar mansion cycles. And apparently, I'm not a professional, by the way. I wasn't an expert in this. This is what I found out from my translations. So if I'm wrong about some historical context, just know I wasn't a professional. But apparently, according to my research, it matches ancient lunar calendars from Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, China, and others. Okay? Each of those words actually stand for certain meanings, explained meanings, like sacred initiation cycle beginning, the opening rite of divine anointing, divine waters flowing, baptism cleansing, so each day is supposed to be like a cycle of how we go on through the month. When there's, and I'm giving you this one. This is when there's more day hours than night hours. This one's when there's more night hours than day, like when there's longer nights and shorter days. So yeah, basically, I'm going to just give you like the nights 1 through 7 is initiation and preparation, oil, cleansing, growth. Nights 8 through 14 is union, revelation, fire, stars, gates. Nights 15 to 21, ascent, healing, wisdom. And nights 22 to 28 is divination, rebirth, return. So that's for the moon cycles. That's what that's for. And I wanted to give you a little more. I want to start teaching the basic teachings and going back to the beginning, starting on the new moon. This is not for everyone. This isn't for people who can't put a flame to the darkest corners in their life. This isn't for people who can't accept something that might be different from what they've been taught their whole life, Some people can't accept the fact that you've been drinking gasoline your whole life when you thought it was water, if that makes any sense. Anyway, again, I'm just going to keep posting and talking about my translations until the right person looks at my translations to verify it, until I get my book deal. And I really, really appreciate you guys. Like I said, I did figure this out. I've had imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm smarter than other people. I just so happen to have a certain set of knowledge when I saw something in the Voynich, it clicked in my head. And that's a whole different story. But yeah, thank you so much for following my content. I appreciate it so much. And I'm really excited to share this with you.
So Yale has posted the Voynich manuscripts to the internet. Congratulations, Yale. 10 out of 10. You can't figure it out? Make everybody else do it for you. It is a very solid idea, because what starts happening? People start flooding in. Shit starts happening. Things start to come out about the Voynich manuscript and what the fuck could possibly be the tea. First and foremost, there was a group of people that were like, this is calfskin parchment. We can carbon date this, and we should. So they take little scraps off of the corners, and they take them to the lab, and they do the lab shit. And the lab shit says that this book, the paper, actually dates back to the 15th century. Which is a huge discovery, because it makes Wilfred Voynich look like a motherfucking liar. It makes him look like a fucking idiot and a moron. Because he was over here thinking Sir Kevin Bacon, or whatever the fuck his name was the one that wrote it way back in the 13th century. He was over here saying this monk, this, who wasn't allowed to be a scientist, that, I think this is his secret book, hello, and took it on that book tour, tried to sell it for $100,000. And now we've carbon dated the pages, and we're like, where did you get that idea? But you can't defame the dead, so we can sit here and we can talk shit about Wilfred Voynich all we want. Fuck him. He was wrong, ha 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 ha. And these people just proved it. And of course, these pages are just out on the internet floating around. Anybody can see them, including but not limited to tiny little retired ladies who are bored out of their gourds. Because what do you do when you're a tired old retired lady? You look through the Yale archives and you just become an internet sleuth. Because what else do you have to do? And that sounds fun. They've got all kinds of shit over there. So this tiny little old lady named Edith, I would die for Edith. She's so intelligent. She's so cute. She's so old. She says, you know what? This kind of looks like Leonardo da Vinci. And she does a lot of work to prove that this could potentially be like a lost manuscript of Leonardo da Vinci, including but not limited to a massive amount of handwriting analysis and pictorial analysis. And she's really popping her motherfucking pussy on the Da Vinci theory. Talking about how there was two different styles of handwriting. One was thick black Gothic letters. The other was like more dainty, more cutesy. And that was the one that Da Vinci used. And that was the one in the Voynich manuscript, which it wasn't the most popular one at the time. Also, there was no capital letters. Da Vinci didn't like capital letters. Also, there was no page breaks, no line breaks, no paragraph breaks, whatever. All kinds of stuff. Down to the fact that it was really hard to draw a perfect circle back in the day. It's still hard to draw a perfect circle now. Okay, I don't understand why it's so difficult. If you ask me to freehand a circle, actually just don't. But the Voynich manuscript had perfect circles, and Da Vinci was known for drawing perfect circles in a lot of his works as well. So it's giving everything it needs to be giving. It's giving handwriting. It's giving right time frame. It's giving precision of circles. And then something kooky, wacky, weird happens. There is a drawing in the Voynich manuscript of the Aries astrological chart. What is the word for that? I can't remember. It's unimportant. Anyways, cut the gate, moving on. So this Aries chart, it has 15 pregnant women in the drawing, and they're all holding a string that's like attached to a star. Except for this one. This one lady is no longer pregnant. She's holding a baby. She's holding a string that has a striped pattern on the string up to the star, which is indicative that this is potentially a birth chart. A birth chart indicating that whoever it's for was born on the 15th of April. Are you freaking out yet? 15th of April, day Lincoln was shot, day Titanic sank, day that Leonardo da Vinci was born. Baby, when I heard this tea, you could have blew me over with a feather. I was lit the fuck up. I love this theory. Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it. The only thing they don't really love about it is that Da Vinci was such a great artist, and the art in here is kind of archaic. It's not as good. And it's like, maybe he was just fucking around. Maybe this was like his toilet journal. Okay, maybe this was just the thing that he was like, this was the draft, and it didn't need to be perfect, okay? Maybe that's exactly what freaking happened. But, of course, it all comes down to the fact that we cannot decipher what the motherfucking words say. Why do we not know what the words say? So we ask the only person we can think to ask. It's Alberta, Canada. And we ask AI. We're like, listen, artificial intelligence, help us the fuck out. Can't nobody figure this shit out? Nobody knows what the hell is going on. We're all sick of doing all of this work. Will you please just tell us what this secret code is? And it turns out even AI can't tell us what code it is. But they do indicate to us that the book was written in Hebrew, which nobody saw coming. Everybody was like, who? Hebrew who? When? Where? Why? Nobody thought that it was going to be written in Hebrew. For a while, they thought it was written in Arabic, maybe Italian. Like, they were like, what the hell is going on? And this AI is able to generate some phrases, but not very many. It's like she construed information to a priest, like just weird random sentences that are short, like only 3 that are really short and don't really make a lot of sense. Like, even AI is struggling to be like, what the fuck is this saying? The power plant that is funding this AI is like, we need to shut down. We need to take a minute. We're not capable. But there is one person who thinks they're capable, and it is not an AI, but an actual person who thinks that this book is actually a prophecy. He sits down, he tinkers with his smart ass brain and all his time in the world. I bet he's retired as well. And he thinks that he decodes sentences on sentences about this kind of mystery elixir, where it's like, you're going to drink the elixir. You're not going to talk about the elixir, but this elixir is going to grant you the opportunity to see into the future. And this is what came out of drinking this elixir. Other theories have been thrown around that potentially it was an alien. Of course. An alien that came down to Earth, got stuck, and recorded all of his thoughts and processes in the Voynich Manuscript. And that's why the words don't make any motherfucking sense. And that's why the pictures are a little bit kooky and weird, because he doesn't understand what's going on because he's an alien. And we all believe that theory. We all love that theory. But my favorite one that takes the cake here in the last 3 minutes of this video is that this manuscript was written in the language of tongues called glossolalia. You know, my inner spiritualist is absolutely geeking at this. The language of tongues is the language that people speak when they're possessed, when they're in a trance, you know, when they're like, that bitch is speaking in tongues. When you watch the videos of the Christians with the snakes and you're like, what the fuck is happening? That's called glossolalia. It's called the language of tongues. And that's why we can't decode it. It's why we can't decipher it, because it's literal fucking nonsense from the spirit realm put down onto the paper, bitch. And when I tell you I create saliva talking about it, it makes me absolutely salivate. It is so down the rabbit hole of things that interest me. Medieval spiritualist writing gobbledygook after being possessed by the spirit and seeing into whatever other realm and writing it all down and leaving it on the planet for none of us to be able to decipher ever. Oh, God, it's got the trappings of the best. Baby, that makes me squirm in the seat. That makes me want to take my clothes off and run naked through underneath the full moon. It makes me want to get my tarot, get my crystals. Makes me want to jingle jangle through the streets like a little witch, like the little witch that I am. Of course, endearingly, and at the end of the day, absolutely none of this has been proven with any kind of factual evidence because we can't fucking read it. We have no idea what it says. So we can sit here and we can guesstimate and we can carbon date and we can throw it into generative AI. But even AI is like, bro, fuck this shit. Stop giving me this shit. I don't know the answer. Okay? So quit. Leave me be. And to that I say, absolutely not. It's a mystery in history, babe, and it has got me in a frickin' chokehold, especially if it has ties to spiritualism, which, if you want me to get into feminist spiritualism, it will be the best day of my life to discuss feminist spiritualism and the effects. So, obviously, that's the theory of choice for me for the Voynich Manuscript, or, what's going on? Alexa has something to say. Either that or Leonardo da Vinci. I do like that one as well. But those are personal biases, not any kind of factual evidence. Would never get up in front of a court of law on this one. Never, never, never. And if you want to watch me yap about it in long form, you have 33 minutes worth of Voynich Manuscript content over on YouTube. See you there.
Watch this video all the way through if you want to know what the Voynich Manuscript is about. By the time this video is over, there's going to be absolutely no room for speculation and undoubtable proof that I translated it. Hi, my name's Kayla Perez, and I translated the Voynich Manuscript. If you could like and share this video and even follow me, I would appreciate that immensely. I'm trying to get my book signed by a professional book company. Part of the reason that the Voynich Manuscript hasn't been translated in the past is because it doesn't fit with the time period. 6,000 years ago, the very first civilization and recorded religion was by the Sumerian people and the Mesopotamian people. This religion included a goddess named Inanna. Inanna, goddess of love and war and fertility. One of her most famous stories is her journey to the underworld to see her sister, where she had to go through 7 different gates, give up and sacrifice something at each one. And her sister hung her up on a hook, and she was dead for 3 days, and then she rose again. The Mesopotamians talked about many gods, and they said they came down from flying ships. Sorry, I had to take a minute to collect myself because, like I said, that's what they believed. What does this have to do with the Voynich? Everything. Why doesn't it make sense? Well, the Voynich was written apparently in the 1400s, but we didn't even make discoveries about this culture until around the 1800s. Like, we didn't discover these pyramids and any of these temples. So that's why this is very significant. This challenges history. So if you don't know who these people are, and this is your first time ever hearing about the Mesopotamian people or Sumerian people, here is some of their artwork. Inanna is correlated with this 8-pointed star right here. Okay, this right here is a dragon-lion hybrid, like the serpent that helps lead you to the underworld. Image of the same thing, the serpent with the 8-pointed star, right? Okay, I've already translated the book, and I already started knowing that it was talking about plants and cycles and how the stars and the planets work. Those were the first layers of translation. As I started getting more progressive, everything started making sense, especially when I started hitting the months. This is the month of November. Surprise curveball number 1. Scorpio isn't the correct zodiac sign. That is not what the original zodiac was, apparently. It was this creature, that serpent to the underworld. And here it is for November, with the 8-pointed star of Inanna. It changes everything we knew about history. So in the stories, Inanna never cuts her hair. But in the culture of Mesopotamia, Sumeria, her priestess would. There used to be priestess and preachers, 2 people, equilibrium to the divine, which in my book, I go over everything that we know now, where it came from. This predates Christianity by 4,000 years. So again, Inanna goes through gates of the underworld and has to give up things like her necklace and jewelry and her crown. And this translation is an initiation to go to the underworld right here. It talks about letting the heavenly waters fall on you, sacrifice your stuff, rebirth, and renewal, which you'll see in my translations, like more broken down details. And down here are all the familiars that are in the underworld. And the last thing that I'm going to show you, and by the way, this is consistent throughout the whole book, is the star charts. What are they for? Okay, this is a famous symbol right here. I'm going to read it. It's interpreted as the royal astronomical ritual. In the Voynich decoding, it's much more than symbolic. It aligns. It literally aligns the ritual with the stars in the sky. AKA, you know the star compasses that people used to have back in the day? That was why. So that is what the Voynich Manuscript is about. Please blow up this video. I know it's long. Thank you for sitting through it with me.
The Voynich Manuscript is dated back to around 1404 to 1434. Handwritten, nobody could decode it.
What if the book that defied every expert for 6 centuries is finally cracking? Not by human hands, but by something we built? What if pages once dismissed as nonsense are starting to whisper back, not with clarity, but with unsettling implications? Could a machine uncover knowledge that was hidden on purpose, and for good reason? As artificial intelligence edges closer to unlocking the Voynich Manuscript, we have to ask, are we ready for what's inside? Because one decoded sentence could shift the entire meaning, and not necessarily in a way we'll want. If the manuscript starts speaking, will we regret listening? The book that refused to speak. For over 6 centuries, the Voynich Manuscript has resisted every attempt to unlock its secrets. Carbon dated to the early 14th century, this cryptic codex is widely considered one of history's most mysterious books. Written in an unknown script and language that no one has ever conclusively identified, It has drawn attention from scholars, linguists, codebreakers, and even conspiracy theorists. Despite countless attempts over the past 100 years, no human has successfully deciphered more than a few fragments of the text, none with universal agreement. It's not just unreadable, it's unrelenting. The more people tried to understand it, the deeper the mystery became. What makes the Voynich Manuscript so captivating is not just its strangeness, but its resilience against human logic and linguistic science. From seasoned cryptographers in both world wars to language specialists fluent in obscure medieval dialects, the manuscript has humbled generations. Theories have ranged from practical, like the idea it's a coded herbal guide, to the speculative, including rumors of extraterrestrial origin or that it's an elaborate hoax. Yet no matter the angle of attack, the result was the same: confusion, controversy, and ultimately failure. The manuscript became a kind of intellectual graveyard, where even the sharpest minds walked away empty-handed. But now, something has shifted. After years of stalled progress, a new kind of mind is approaching the manuscript. Not a human one, but artificial intelligence. Unlike humans, AI doesn't get discouraged or distracted. It doesn't fall in love with theories. Instead, it deals in patterns, probability, and massive data processing. And it appears that's exactly what was needed. In recent years, machine learning and natural language processing tools have begun to reveal patterns and linguistic structures within the manuscript that weren't detectable to the human eye. The long-standing silence of the Voynich may finally be breaking, not because we grew smarter, but because we built something that could outthink us in a specific way. This development raises new questions. Was the manuscript always decodable, but just beyond human reach? Or is it possible that AI is seeing things that aren't really there, finding order in noise, because it's programmed to? Still, the fact remains. Where humans have failed for centuries, machines are now making real progress. As one researcher noted, it took a machine to hear what humans couldn't. Whether that's a breakthrough or a new kind of danger remains to be seen. So before we ask what the manuscript says, maybe we need to ask something simpler. What exactly are we even looking at? What the manuscript looks like. Physically, the Voynich Manuscript is unremarkable. 240 pages of parchment bound in a small codex roughly the size of a modern paperback. But what's on those pages has left generations of researchers baffled. The text is written in a script now referred to as Voynich, a completely unknown alphabet that does not match any known writing system. The characters appear to be written in a flowing, consistent hand, suggesting fluency and intentionality. Whoever wrote it was not improvising. Despite its elegant script, the writing cannot be directly linked to any real-world language, which only deepens the mystery of its purpose and origin. The illustrations are just as cryptic as the text, if not more so. Across the manuscript sections, the imagery includes detailed botanical drawings of plants that do not match any known species, astronomical and astrological charts, with strange arrangements of stars and symbols, and one of the most confounding features, numerous drawings of nude women immersed in what appear to be green, murky pools. These figures are sometimes connected by tubes or held in container-like structures, leading to speculation about biological or alchemical processes. The visual style is medieval, but the themes remain difficult to categorize, too symbolic for pure science, too structured for random doodling. Most researchers divide the manuscript into 5 thematic sections based on the content of the drawings: botanical, astronomical, biological, pharmaceutical, and what's often called the recipes section. The botanical section is filled with large plant diagrams, some resembling familiar herbs, while others are unidentifiable or appear to be hybrids. The astronomical pages contain zodiac signs like Pisces and Sagittarius, paired with star maps that defy easy interpretation. The biological section, where those interconnected women appear, is the most unsettling, suggesting some kind of medical or reproductive focus, though without clear explanation. The pharmaceutical pages show scholars eager to crack what looked like an ancient code. Early 20th century cryptanalysts, including experts from World War I and World War II, applied statistical methods and frequency analysis, convinced it was an encrypted message. But despite their advanced skills, many honed during real wartime codebreaking, none of them could identify a clear system or linguistic origin. The manuscript refused to yield even basic patterns, that would suggest a known language or cipher method. One of the most notable efforts came from William and Elizabeth Friedman, a legendary code-breaking couple whose work helped the Allies decrypt enemy communications during World War II. Despite years spent analyzing the manuscript's structure, they ultimately concluded it followed the logic of a real language, but without knowing which language, or even if it still existed, there was no way forward. Other government and military cryptographers tried their hand, especially during the Cold War era, when code-breaking expertise surged. Yet, even with the help of early computing tools, they made no real progress. These failures weren't for lack of effort. They were a testament to the manuscript's unique construction and the depth of its obscurity. In the decades that followed, academic researchers and amateur sleuths put forward a variety of theories. Some believe the manuscript was written by the English monk Roger Bacon using a now-lost cipher. Others proposed it was a form of shorthand, vowelless Ukrainian, or even constructed nonsense meant to imitate real language. One of the more persistent theories claimed the book was an elaborate hoax, possibly by Wilfrid Voynich himself, or a Renaissance-era forger. But carbon dating and ink analysis eventually debunked that idea, confirming its origins in the early 15th century. Still, the manuscript's resistance to translation led many to wonder if it was simply gibberish in a convincing disguise. What makes the Voynich manuscript particularly humbling is how consistently it has defeated even the best-equipped minds. Every wave of new technology or linguistic insight seemed to bring renewed hope, only to hit the same wall. Some of the most experienced code breakers in history walked away from it, acknowledging they were completely stumped. The manuscript earned a reputation not just as a mystery, but as a professional failure for anyone who dared to solve it. Until now, that is, because the next challenger wasn't a person. It was artificial intelligence. Despite countless man-hours poured into deciphering its pages, the Voynich manuscript became a cautionary tale among scholars, a project that promised glory, but delivered only frustration. Entire academic careers have passed, with nothing more than educated guesses and stalled hypotheses. Linguists tried mapping Voynichese to every known language family. Mathematicians dissected the structure for cipher patterns. Even neurologists speculated whether it was a product of disordered thinking. Each approach brought a different lens, yet all arrived at the same conclusion. The manuscript didn't behave like any known system. It mimicked logic without revealing it, like a code deliberately engineered to mislead. Some researchers began to question whether the problem wasn't the method, but the assumptions behind it. Was it meant to be read at all, or was it designed as a symbolic artifact, with meaning embedded in images, repetition, and rhythm, rather than in words? This line of thinking veered from traditional cryptanalysis into the realm of semiotics and anthropology. Still, even alternative interpretations ran aground without textual anchors. The manuscript stood unmoved, a centuries-old enigma immune to the full spectrum of human intellect. The arrival of AI didn't just represent a new tool. It marked a shift in how we confront the unknown, not through intuition or experience, but by surrendering the problem to something that doesn't think like us at all. A digital brain versus a medieval mind. For over a century, the Voynich manuscript stood as a linguistic fortress, one that no human could breach. That changed when artificial intelligence entered the picture. At the University of Alberta, Professor Greg Kondrak and his graduate student Bradley Hauer applied machine learning and natural language processing, NLP, to the mystery. Their goal was simple: treat the manuscript script as a language that could be compared systematically against others. Using algorithms designed to detect structural similarities in syntax and vocabulary, they ran comparisons against over 380 modern and historical languages. What the AI found surprised even them. The AI concluded that the manuscript most closely aligned with Hebrew, an unexpected result, given that many human researchers had long assumed the text might be based on Latin or a now-lost language. More than 80% of the decoded words had matches in a Hebrew dictionary. This wasn't a loose correlation. The matches were consistent enough to suggest a real structure beneath the apparent randomness of the script. Still, Kondrak and Hauer were careful not to overstate the case. The initial translations were fragmented and awkward, and the sentence structures didn't always make sense. But the machine had uncovered a pattern, a foundation where previously there had only been chaos. One of the most significant breakthroughs came when the researchers attempted to interpret the first line of the manuscript. After applying minor spelling corrections and testing with Google Translate, the sentence reportedly read, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me and people." While awkward, the sentence contains clear grammatical roles and resembles human speech. It wasn't definitive proof, but it was the first plausible sentence ever extracted from the text. This discovery suggested that the manuscript may have been written in a coded or transformed form of Hebrew, perhaps using techniques like anagramming or letter substitution, making it especially difficult for human eyes to parse. What set this attempt apart wasn't just the language match, it was the methodology. Unlike past efforts driven by intuition, AI tackled the manuscript through cold, calculated pattern recognition. The system had no preconceived notions, no pet theories, no emotional investment. It simply followed the data. While this doesn't mean the manuscript is now fully readable, it does mean a meaningful breakthrough has been made. The Voynich Manuscript has finally begun to respond, not to centuries of speculation, but to a machine that speaks the universal language of probability. Whether this is the beginning of a full translation, or just another misleading pattern, is still unknown. Anagrams, alphagrams, and algorithms. One of the most intriguing elements in the AI-led decoding of the Voynich manuscript is the possible use of alphagrams, a technique where the letters in a word are alphabetized. This form of transformation doesn't create random gibberish, but hides familiar words in plain sight by rearranging their letters. If the original author employed this method intentionally, it would have served as a simple yet effective cipher to throw off any untrained reader. For decades, human researchers overlooked this possibility or dismissed it as unlikely. But for a machine trained to process billions of permutations, alphagrams are just another pattern to test. AI was able to use this method in combination with known linguistic structures to analyze the manuscript's early pages. Specifically, researchers at the University of Alberta focused on the first 10 pages and applied algorithmic processing that unscrambled these letter arrangements based on frequency, syntax, and contextual modeling. The result? A surprisingly high percentage of words matched entries in Hebrew dictionaries. These weren't just stray coincidences. The consistency was strong enough to suggest that someone had gone to great lengths to encode Hebrew phrases using alphabetized or otherwise scrambled structures, likely to disguise the base language. A compelling example of this came in the form of a tentative translation of the manuscript's first line. After resolving the anagram-like construction and applying some minor spelling corrections, the resulting sentence, once processed through Google Translate, read, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me, and people." While not grammatically perfect, it had recognizable structure and meaning, something no previous translation attempt had ever achieved. This was a major leap forward, not because it was a flawless translation, but because it proved the manuscript might be using more than just unknown script. It could be masking familiar words in heavily altered forms. Importantly, the use of alphagrams and anagram-like wordplay would explain why human experts, even seasoned codebreakers, failed to make progress. These techniques create ambiguity that humans often dismiss as noise, but which machines can scan systematically. AID's success here wasn't in cracking a code in the traditional sense, but in recognizing a logic system built to confuse. Whether these patterns continue across the entire manuscript remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The Voynich manuscript may have been readable all along, just written in a language rearranged and obscured in ways that only a machine could patiently untangle. Just when algorithms seem to be pulling back the curtain, another layer, hidden in plain sight, started to emerge from the pages themselves. From multispectral scans to human hands. In 2024, a different kind of breakthrough emerged, not through code breaking or language analysis, but through imaging technology.
So, mystics, until our next descent into the shadows, keep your minds open, your questions sharper than silver, and your candles burning bright. This is Champagne Mystique, where the shadows speak and we listen.